Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today I have some good news for those of you who travel with firearms and understand the hassle of traveling through states that don't have the same laws as the state that you're coming from. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so about 3 weeks ago, a bill was introduced in the Senate, which is Senate Bill 3139. This bill is the Lawful Transportation of Firearms Act. Now, this bill actually seeks to amend the Safe Passage Act, which basically says that you can travel from one location that accepts the type of firearms that you have to another location that also has similar laws that accepts the firearms that you have. So if I'm somebody that wants to go from Nevada to Arizona or from Nevada to another state that's further east like Pennsylvania, and the firearm that I'm transporting is legal in my state and also legal in the state that I'm transporting it to, you can go ahead and you could take it from point A to point B. The problem is that the current law does not account for stopping in other states. For instance, if I was going to be traveling from, let's say, Nevada, which I can have 30-round magazine and specific type of firearm, and I make a stop in Colorado or something like that on my way to my final destination, when I stop in Colorado, I'm no longer traveling. I've transported whatever I have from where I am to Colorado, making that stop before I make my way to my final destination. And people have been thrown in jail. People have been arrested and thrown in jail for doing just this. There are people that are on airplanes that go from one point, make an unscheduled stop at another point, and then they have to get off the plane and then re-enter another plane to, make it to their final destination. And people are getting held up, they're getting arrested, and they're getting thrown in jail. This new bill, 3139, actually seeks to amend that so that people have safe passage and actual safe travel from point A to point B, even if there are stops in the middle. Now, I'm sure there's people out there that are watching right now that don't travel very often thinking this is not that big of a deal. Well, I can assure you that if you ever do decide to travel with firearms, you'll realize what a big deal this is pretty quickly. There are states out there who are not super gun friendly who will not hesitate to prosecute you if you decide to stop at a gas station or stop somewhere to eat or stop just to rest for a little bit and they catch you with something that you're not supposed to have in their state. You'll end up in jail, and it's going to be a really bad time because you're not only going to spend time in jail, but you're going to lose a lot of your money. You could lose your job. And all this from traveling from a state where it was perfectly legal to another state where it's perfectly legal, but the state that you went through wasn't. So that is kind of a big deal. As a matter of fact, my neighbor who just left here, Nevada, and drove to Ohio, had to travel several hundred miles out of the way in order to avoid specific states where the firearm that she was traveling with wouldn't be considered legal. So she had to spend hours and hours extra time driving on the road, and she had to spend extra money because obviously those hours that she's spending going around those states are going to cost extra fuel. And so you're talking about time, you're talking about money, you're talking about the potential to be arrested, the potential to be thrown in jail, all because of these massive gaps in the safe passage law, that currently exists. So if we're able to patch that law up by passing this new Senate bill, which is 3139 again, if they're able to pass this, then you don't have to worry about it. Again, if you're somebody who's, let's say, on the west coast of Oregon, and you want to drive down to southern Nevada, and the straightest line happens to take you through California. We all know that California is not a super gun-friendly state. If you decide to stop at any point in California with something that's not legal there, well, you're going to probably be in some pretty big trouble. California actually enjoys prosecuting people who break this law. And so, you'll have to make your way east and go all the way east and then come down, straight down. So you can see that instead of going in a straight line, you're going to have to go probably hundreds of miles out of the way in order to get to southern Nevada from the west coast of Oregon or something like that. So again, hopefully this thing passes. Will it pass the House? I don't know. But the thing that I try and think about is, I try and be optimistic, is that people in the House also travel. And so if you have these staffers that work for all of these Democrat representatives in the House and they maybe happen to travel with firearms, maybe they'll put in a good word. I'm not super hopeful, but again, I try and be optimistic about these things. And if maybe something's not going their way in the House, maybe this is one of those things that they can pass through. This is actual common sense firearms law. When you talk about common sense gun laws and stuff like that, this is what we should be talking about. This is common sense. This keeps innocent people, law-abiding people who've never been in trouble ever, out of jail. So hopefully we get a little bit of support in the House on this one and it can pass. I'm sure that if it makes its way up to the executive branch that it would get signed, because again, it's just common sense. But yeah, let's see what happens with this one. Anyway, it's a little bit of good news, or at least a step in the right direction, while we've been battered by all this anti-gun and gun control nonsense lately. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys up on it, and if the bill passes, I'll let you know, and you can travel safely with your firearm across the United States without worrying about what state you're traveling through. So anyway, I just wanted to bring you guys a little bit of better news than what we've been hearing lately, and I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and you all have a good day.